Hello everyone, welcome back to the Conflict Front Stories channel. Please subscribe and like my videos to stay updated on the most critical developments from the front lines. Today's story is nothing short of a game changer. Important news: Ukraine's latest offensive has turned the tide of war in ways few expected, leaving nearly 170,000 Russian troops trapped in what could become one of the most significant turning points of this conflict. As reports pour in from the front lines, the world watches closely to see how this stunning development could redefine the balance of power in Eastern Europe. It all began in the early hours before dawn when Ukrainian forces launched a series of coordinated strikes that caught Russian units completely off guard. For months, analysts speculated that Ukraine was preparing for a major move, but few anticipated the scale and precision of this assault. Ukrainian drones, artillery, and armored units worked in perfect synchronization, punching deep through Russian defensive lines that had been fortified for almost a year. What appeared to be an impossible breakthrough suddenly became reality, a breach so wide and fast that entire Russian battalions were cut off before they even had time to regroup. The air was thick with tension and dust as Ukrainian armored columns pushed forward under constant artillery fire. Soldiers described the advance as swift but brutal, with villages changing hands within hours. Russian commanders, unable to coordinate effectively, ordered emergency retreats, but by then, supply routes had already been severed. Bridges and transport corridors that once served as lifelines for Russian logistics were destroyed by precision strikes, leaving thousands stranded on the wrong side of the battlefield. As Ukrainian units consolidated their positions, it became clear that this was no temporary gain. The entire front line from Pokrovsk to the Donetsk outskirts began to shift in Ukraine's favor. Intelligence reports confirmed that Russia's 58th and 35th combined armies were among those now encircled, trapped in a tightening pocket with dwindling ammunition and low morale. Ukrainian reconnaissance units moved swiftly to block potential escape routes, ensuring the encirclement was sealed tight. For the first time in months, Ukrainian troops were fighting not to defend, but to finish what they started: a strategic encirclement that could cripple Russian military presence in the region. Inside the trap zone, conditions grew desperate. Soldiers faced shortages of fuel, food, and medical supplies. Communication between command posts broke down as Ukrainian jamming technology disrupted Russian signals. Videos began emerging online showing Russian convoys abandoned in muddy fields, vehicles out of fuel, and soldiers retreating on foot. For Russian troops, this was turning into a logistical nightmare, a replay of past military blunders that Moscow had hoped to avoid. Meanwhile, Ukrainian morale soared. Troops celebrated cautiously as reinforcements poured in from nearby sectors. President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the breakthrough as proof of Ukraine's resilience and strategic brilliance. In a televised address, he stated that this is not just a victory on the battlefield, but a victory of courage, intelligence, and unity. The Ukrainian flag once again flew over several key towns that had been under occupation for months. Civilians who had lived under Russian control emerged to greet Ukrainian soldiers with tears and flags, marking a powerful emotional moment for the nation. Analysts describe this as one of the most significant operational victories since the liberation of Kharkiv in 2022. Unlike previous counterattacks, this operation appears to have been meticulously planned. Weeks of deception tactics misled Russian intelligence into believing Ukraine would attack elsewhere. In reality, Ukrainian commanders were quietly concentrating elite paratroopers and armored brigades along the Pokrovsk axis. When the offensive began, Russia was simply unprepared for the scale of the push. Reports suggest that Russian command is in chaos. Some generals have reportedly requested permission to withdraw forces to prevent total annihilation, but the Kremlin is hesitant, fearing political backlash. Moscow's propaganda channels continue to describe the situation as under control, yet intercepted communications tell a different story, one of confusion, panic, and mounting losses. Ukrainian artillery continues to hammer supply depots and ammunition stockpiles, making any attempt at resupply nearly impossible. Satellite images reveal a grim picture: long columns of stranded vehicles, abandoned equipment, and defensive trenches now overrun by Ukrainian forces. It's believed that Russia could lose more troops in this encirclement than in any single engagement since the start of the full-scale invasion. Western military advisors have called it a strategic catastrophe. For Moscow, comparing it to historical encirclements that shifted the outcomes of major wars. The success of Ukraine's offensive also showcases the growing impact of Western support. Advanced drones, long-range artillery, and improved battlefield intelligence have given Kyiv a decisive edge. Ukrainian operators are now using AI-assisted targeting systems to locate and destroy Russian assets faster than ever before. The combination of human courage and technological precision has turned Ukraine into a formidable opponent, capable of executing operations once considered beyond reach. In the cities behind the front lines, Ukrainians remain cautiously optimistic. While the breakthrough represents a massive victory, they understand that Russia still has vast resources and could attempt a counterstrike. Air raid sirens continue to sound across major cities as Russia retaliates with missile barrages, targeting infrastructure and energy facilities. Yet, even these attacks seem increasingly desperate, a sign that the Russian military is struggling to regain momentum. The encirclement has also triggered a wave of political tension inside Russia. Military bloggers and commentators, once loyal to the Kremlin, are openly criticizing the high command. Accusations of corruption, poor leadership, and tactical incompetence are spreading rapidly. Families of soldiers trapped in the pocket have begun demanding answers. The once solid narrative of a controlled special operation is beginning to crumble under the weight of battlefield reality. Ukraine, on the other hand, is using this moment to strengthen international support. Officials in Kyiv are urging NATO and EU nations to seize this opportunity by increasing arms deliveries. The message is clear: Ukraine can win, but it needs sustained backing. Western capitals are reportedly discussing new rounds of aid, including longer-range missiles and advanced air defense systems to protect liberated territories from counterattacks. As the battle rages on, the human cost remains heavy. Thousands of soldiers are caught in a brutal struggle for survival. Yet, the strategic momentum has shifted decisively. Ukrainian engineers are already rebuilding bridges and supply lines to ensure the offensive can continue. Each liberated town brings renewed hope, and each mile gained brings the war closer to Russian-occupied territories once thought unreachable. Military experts now speculate that if Ukraine maintains this momentum, it could force Russia into a major strategic retreat before winter. That would not only change the dynamics of the battlefield, but could also reshape the political map of Eastern Europe. A weakened Russian position might encourage further domestic unrest, while Ukraine's success could strengthen its case for NATO and EU membership. From a broader perspective, this breakthrough demonstrates the power of resilience and strategic patience. Ukraine's long months of defense, sacrifice, and planning have culminated in a victory that resonates far beyond the battlefield. It sends a message to the world that determination and smart warfare can overcome even a larger adversary. As night falls over the battered landscape, the sound of artillery still echoes across the horizon. Fires burn where the day's fighting was fiercest. Ukrainian medics move swiftly through the darkness, tending to the wounded and bringing them back from the edge. Somewhere in the chaos, commanders prepare for the next stage of the campaign. The battle isn't over, but the momentum has shifted dramatically. For the 170,000 Russian troops still trapped, the situation grows more perilous by the hour. Without resupply, reinforcement, or air support, their fate appears sealed. For Ukraine, this is the culmination of relentless effort and sacrifice, a moment that could mark the beginning of the end for one of the bloodiest chapters in modern history. This is more than just another headline. It's the story of how courage, strategy, and unity can change the course of war. Ukraine's breakthrough has proven that even in the darkest times, hope and determination can rewrite history. Thank you for watching Conflict Front Stories. If you found this report informative, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Your support helps us bring you deeper analysis and real updates from the world's most intense conflict zones. Stay tuned for more frontline reports and see you in the next story, because the fight for freedom is far from over.